Hello there frugal friends, I'm Samantha, this is the channel Trying to Get By and welcome back. We're doing a cooking video this time. It's actually going to be the first of what I hope to be a series of videos where I'm going to look at budget meal books. So cookbooks that focused on keeping within a budget or low cost. So the first one I got was the first one I found at the library, which is from the TV series Cook Well for Less. I think they did about 6 seasons of this series where they go and visit families and look at how much they're spending and the sorts of mistakes the families are making when they are doing their food shop. Now, when I've watched this programme in the past, I have often gasped, yes, gasped, I say, at the prices that some people are spending each month. I think there was one family that was spending like £12,000, £14,000 a year on food. And it wasn't like they were a family of 8 or 10 or anything. I think it was only a family of 5. So it was quite shocking. Often repeated things keep getting bought, multiple trips to the supermarket each week. So the book has a series of recipes, but it also has some information at the beginning about how to organise your pantry and different things like that, but we'll have a look at that at the end. So what I'm going to do is cook maybe 3 or 4 recipes from this book. I have had a look through. There are not a vast number of vegetarian recipes, so you know, we've adapted, we've overcome, and I'll have a show you and tell me what you think of the recipes that I chose. So this is the recipe that I'm looking at today. Now, if you know me, you know a recipe is mostly a suggestion. So what do I do? If I'm evaluating this book, do I follow the recipe 100% or do I do my frugal self and stay honourable to my frugal self? Well, I'm going to have to say I'm staying honourable to my frugal self because I don't have rapeseed oil and I'm not going out specially to get any. So I have just used some basic oil. I do have an onion, which I have chopped. I do have garlic cloves in the freezer, but I'm using up this paste first. I don't have any red chilli finely chopped, so I'm going to use some chilli that I've already ground down. We've also got half a teaspoon of cumin. I will put that in. I will put a tablespoon of paprika. I will follow the recipe for the spices. I don't have any soy mince. We have meatballs. We're having chili meatballs. Okay. I do have a tin of chopped tomatoes. I do have tomato puree. I do have vegetable stock. I do have sort of a green pepper, yellow pepper. My yellow green pepper this is one pepper. It was yellow and green. I haven't got any carrots, so sorry, I'm just not. I don't have any kidney beans. I do have some aduki beans. Why do I need corn flour? What do you need corn flour for? Why would you want corn flour to thicken your chilli? You just cook it longer. That seems a bit, handful of coriander. Yeah, Chris ain't going to go for that. Sea salt and pepper, you know, pepper. Serve with pita bread, sour cream and cheddar. Well, we don't use cheese that often. We don't have sour cream. We don't have any pita breads. Do we have any pita breads left? No, I think we've used them all up. But I have got wraps. So we're making a sort of meat-free chilli from the book. But we're adapting because eating well for less is about adapting recipes to what you have got. This is my 100% my philosophy. So anyway, my oil is on. I have chopped these things. We are going to start off, it says, with our onion and garlic and then our herbs and spices. Okay, let me talk more recipe with you. Right, cook the onion and garlic for 4 to 5 minutes. Do onion and garlic cook at the same time? No. Garlic cooks quicker than onion. So I would put onion in first, then garlic, because if I'm waiting for my onions to go soft, my garlic's going to go a little bit burnt. So, then it says add on the spices and the soy mince and cook for another couple of minutes. Yeah, I have no issue with that. But I would not add my tomatoes and my tomato puree. I was taught that tomato puree needed to be cooked out to get rid of the bitterness before you add other things in there. Plus, it's asking me to put my peppers in. So essentially, I'm putting my peppers in with tomatoes and stock. And we are boiling our peppers. Do you want boiled peppers or do you want fried peppers? I know I'm being critical. I know I'm being super critical, but that's the whole idea of this video, is to be critical of the book and decide whether or not it is a book that I would use and I would recommend. So I am going to put my tomato puree in. I am going to put my peppers in before I put anything else that is wet in. So we've got that going there. I'm going to go in with a good tablespoon of tomato puree. 3 tablespoons, he said. That's even better. There we go. Tomato puree. Cook your tomato puree down. Trust me, it works great. It just richens the flavour and gets rid of that bitterness. Even if you just do it for a minute. I'm going to add my peppers now in there as well. And I'm going to give this another 5 minutes before I start putting in stock and all that kind of stuff. So 5 minutes. In that 5 minutes I'm going to boil the kettle. Right, I've done that for a few minutes now. Do you see that stuff down there? That you wouldn't be getting if you'd have just dumped everything in with your stock. This is called fond, and it's good stuff. It is flavour. It's basically the sticky stuff that sticks to the bottom of your pan. It's not burnt, it's sticky stuff. It's great. As soon as I pour that stock in, which is about 300 mils of stock, and stock is not something I would normally use in a chilli, but let's give it a go. There we go. That's just my bouillon powder and water, boiling water. So that's thickening it up. And if you will notice, well, you can't quite see, but the fond will scrape up from that. Okay, we're also going to put in our tomatoes. I've just got a tin of chopped tomatoes that I had in. I don't normally use chopped, I normally use plum because they're a bit better. Right, the next thing. Reduce to medium-low and simmer for 10 minutes, stirring occasionally. Now, if I was making my chilli normally, this would be simmered for at least an hour, if not longer, on a very low heat, just to really, really intensify the flavour. But I can imagine these are meals that are more for easy meals at night time. You know, come home from work, put a meal on, done, dusted. So, or I would have done this in the slow cooker, so it would have been even more good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little bit more than 10 minutes because obviously I've got frozen meatballs in there. And I'm going to come back in 10, maybe 15 minutes, put my beans in, which are, like I said, are dookie beans. So they're a bit smaller than kidney beans. I'm not a big fan of kidney beans. I don't like the thick skin on them. It's why I never buy them or tend to buy them. And then I'll put that in. I'm probably not going to put the corn flour in. And then we will give it a taste and see how it is, and then make a decision as to whether we want to edit the recipe a bit more. Okay, the beans have been in for the 5 minutes it recommends. I'm not putting the corn flour in because I think it should just, I don't know, I don't like the idea of having to thicken the sauce. Anyway, I'm going to taste it, see how it is. I am mostly focusing, I'm not fussed about my meatballs will be fine. I'm mostly focusing on the saucy bit. Is it chili enough flavour for me? I'm feeling like oregano is missing. Let's have a taste. Blow my head off first in terms of heat, as in hot, not spice hot. Nah. It either needs cooking for another hour and a half to get those flavours down, or I'm going to have to amp them up. I did stick to the ½ teaspoon of ground cumin, the 1 tablespoon of paprika, the 1 teaspoon of chili powder, and I even put in some of my chili flakes. So it's not 100% accurate, but it's a good 90%, but no. It needs more. It definitely needs more. It needs me to put my phone down or put this on a stand so that I can pour more stuff in. This is why it would be so hard for me to ever make a cookbook, because I do 90% of my cooking by flavour, by taste. So I'm going to add, yes, a tablespoon, a good tablespoon of oregano. That is definitely going in. We are putting some more cumin in. I like cumin. Cumin is a great flavour. Any, you know, south of America, as in Texas, New Mexico, that kind of area, would definitely add more cumin in. So I put another half teaspoon in. I'm putting another half teaspoon of chili in, but don't tell Chris, because he's not a big fan of ultra hot. And definitely don't tell Chris, which is a good job he hardly ever watches my videos, because I'm going to put in a bit of coriander. This was fresh coriander that I dried out, and I find that he's not too bad with the dried stuff. He's terrible with the fresh stuff. If there's coriander on top of a rest, you know, sprinkled on top of something, he is not a fan. But I generally just don't tell him it's in there. So let's give that a little mix. And give it a minute. Do you know what else it needs? Do you know they've not even put... Oh yeah, salt and pepper to taste. It definitely needs salt. Good pinch of the Maldon. And a definite good crack of the pepper. There we go. Season. Check your food. Check it, check it, check it. Season and taste. Season and taste. There we go. Right, I'm going to give that a minute just to kind of mellow out and do its little thing, and then I'll taste again. Right, back for the second taste. Now I know you normally know I double dip, but because it's only me and Chris. Sometimes I remember to kind of, you could do this, you know, pour it on, but a lot of the time I double dip, like I say. Only me and Chris to worry about. Oh, blew a piece of onion off there. Mmm. The chili's not that hot, it just hit the back of my throat. That is much better. I promise it's not spicy. I can choke on thin air myself. Anyway, that is much, much better. And if I wanted to thicken up, I'm just going to cook it for a little bit longer. So that is the meat-free chili recipe. Well, my version of it anyway. So this next recipe is puy lentil bolognese with pasta. Puy lentils are essentially just posh green lentils from a certain region of France. Ingredients are pretty simple. You can hear the carrots and onion softening. Yes, I did buy carrot. A lot of these recipes in this book require carrot, and I was going past a shop that sold carrots singly as opposed to having to buy a bag of them. So I bought them. Only cost me like 31, 32p, so I thought that wasn't too bad for a few of them. So I didn't buy any celery though, because it's not something Chris likes. Everything else is pretty simple. All standard stuff that we have in. That is the bolognese, what it's meant to look like. In the the method is actually quite decent. Add olive oil, carrots, onion, celery, cook over a medium heat for 5 minutes. You want the veg to soften but not cook. This is a good hint. If you put a lid on to the pan to help keep the moisture in and steam the vegetables at the same time. I would also add to that little caveat, put a spray of water in as well. Then put your lid on and do a bit of steaming and cooking. Cut down the cooking time as well. Next, you're going to add some herbs, so thyme or whatever herbs you've got. Garlic, we're still using our jarred garlic before we start on all the garlic that we bought this month. Turn in tomato puree and turn up the heat so that it goes through all the vegetables. That's what we should have done yesterday, which we did do. And then we're going to add in our puy lentils, tin tomatoes, vegetable stock, bring to the boil and cook for 25 minutes. Now, if you were doing it with a can of lentils, you're literally just warming them through. So you could knock that heat down by at least 15 minutes. Although, I think it's probably cheaper to buy the dried green lentils and do it yourself. But, you know, time is everything sometimes. So then just add... Then once there's like 15 minutes left to cook, you cook your pasta according to packet instructions. So pasta doesn't generally take 15 minutes. My spaghetti, I think, takes between 8 and 10. So the extra 5 minutes is enough time to boil your kettle. So it's not too bad. And yes, salted water. I always put salt in my pasta water. This seems pretty decent. I'm quite I'm quite impressed with the method on this one. So let's see if it works. So I'm going to finish off cooking those, and then I'm going to throw in all my other ingredients. Right, so the garlic, herbs and tomato puree is in there. We're just letting it cook off a little bit. Not as much fond as when we made the chilli, because there's a bit more moisture in here. We're going to go in with our lentils. I'm going in with about half the packet, which is about 250, which is slightly less than what's made here, but this is a recipe for 4. So give that a good mix. And then when do we put in the don't put in the balsamic till nearer the end. So we're going to add our tinned tomatoes. There we go. Now I've got the water ready for my stock. And just a little bit of stock in there. Right, there we go, stock in. And basically now lid on, bring to the boil, turn down to a simmer. So I'll bring it to a boil with the lid on because it'll be quicker. Just break up the tomatoes a bit, they'll break up in the cooking process. Right, let's see how we get on with this. So we finished off our mixture. We added that little splash of balsamic in there. Salt and pepper were definitely needed. I would personally say skip the balsamic and add some Worcester sauce if you are not vegetarian, or some Henderson's relish if you are vegetarian. I just think it would round out the flavour even better. So these are our plates. We've got leftovers because you would always have leftovers. You know, if you know me, you know leftovers are part and parcel of my way of cooking. So here we go with our ragu. So lentil bolognese. Tastes lovely. The lentils are still quite firm. They're cooked well through, but they've still got that firmness. So if you are not used to a firmer texture, I would say cook it slightly longer or use the canned stuff, because it's a little unnerving. If you're comparing this to meat or to soy-based mince, the firmness is a bit different, but it certainly is tasty. And I would definitely give this recipe more props for cooking out the vegetables longer, not putting in the garlic too soon, and also cooking out that tomato puree. So definitely much better in terms of technique than the chilli. Tonight we're doing quite a simple dish, sausage and tomato pasta. Ingredients are pretty simple: sausages, onion, garlic, carrot, herbs and spices. Caster sugar, I'm not sure whether I'd need that. I don't like putting sugar in my pasta sauce. Tins of tomatoes, whole wheat pasta or whatever pasta you have, salt and pepper to taste, and cheese to serve, garlic bread to serve if you choose. So we're going to bring some water to the boil. That'll be for our pasta. In the meantime, we're going to, it says heat a frying pan, but I'm doing it in a small pan that I've got. Basically got some sausages frying off. I just cut them into chunks. They're getting a little bit stuck on the bottom, but that's fine. We've got those going. And once you've done those, we're going to add in, sorry about that, bit of a glitch. Something else came up on my screen and stopped the video. Anyway, as I was saying, chopped onion, that's all going in. That's just one sort of small, medium-ish size onion. This whole recipe serves 5. It's a bit of a random number, but that's what it's serving. Anyway, so that's what we've got there. We're going to cook for a couple of minutes the onion. Now, if you do start getting, remember what we called it, fond down at the bottom, you can always add a splash of water to kind of lift it up and prevent the sticking. Because a lot of people would just add extra oil, but we don't want to add extra oil. So there we go. That is that. The other things we've got are the carrot that we've grated. We've got our tomatoes, garlic paste, cayenne pepper and basil. Like I say, I am not adding sugar because I just don't, well, it might need it, but I don't particularly want to add sugar. So I'm adding my garlic now. There we go, that's pretty much the last of this garlic that's going in there, so I can start on my frozen garlic that I have prepared. Right, next in, grated carrot. I feel as though the carrots in a lot of these recipes are basically there as a bit of a filler. Also, you know, adding extra of your 5 a day, which, you know, is not a bad thing. And carrots are so super cheap. I mean, one decent sized carrot is about 12p, so not bad at all. Now that that's added moisture, you can see that fond is starting to lift off the bottom. We're going to add our basil. Trying to open these jars without taking my phone off. Right, basil, it says 2 teaspoons. So that's 2 teaspoons. Cayenne pepper, not quite as much, and be careful because, you know, it's a little bit spicier. So teaspoon. Done. Give that a mix. There we go. And then we're going to add our tin tomato. Right, my tomatoes are plum tomatoes, and also don't forget to give your can a little bit of a rinse. You don't need much water to do that. All I will do is just kind of stab at my tomatoes. The other thing I could have done is I could have popped them in a food processor or the blender or whatever, just to process them down a little bit. And all we're going to do now is just get that cooking. It says for about 10 minutes, so on a simmer. So I'm going to turn the heat down. That's nice and low, and that will cook, like I say, now for 10 minutes. And then I can just, while the 10 minutes are going, I'm going to get my pasta ready. We cooked down our sauce, we cooked our pasta, we've popped it together. We're going to have a taste. If you can hear a but in the background, it's because I am canning some beans, so that's what's going on there. So let's have a taste. We've got our veggie sausage, our pasta, our sauce. Let's have a little try. Yeah. Chris just asked me if I'm all right because I'm going, Yes, this is super flavourful. A little bit of a kick, really quite tasty. I'm quite impressed with this. I'd say this is a great one. Really good. Dead easy recipe to follow and tastes really nice. The next recipe we've picked from the book is a eggless beetroot and chocolate cake. I have got some beetroot in the fridge that I've had for ages that I've just not got around to using. And we've pretty much got everything else. Well, I've got light brown sugar, so that'll do. Everything else we've got. I've not got rapeseed oil, but I'm just using a different kind of oil. But let's see how this one goes. It's quite a simple one, although you do need to blend your beetroot oil and sugar in a blender to blitz. Yogurt, vanilla and salt into a bowl and whisk, stir in the beetroot mixture, sift in the flour. I don't normally sift flour, but as it's got cocoa powder, and cocoa powder can be notoriously lumpy, I'm going to sift that in as well. Put it in a tin, 35 to 40 minutes till risen. It's not giving me the temperatures for a fan oven, so I have reduced this temperature slightly to about 170. We'll see how that works. And then insert the skewer, which is the common sense thing to do. Hopefully it'll come out quite nice. I know beetroot does tend to make quite a moist cake, and with us using yogurt as well, it sounds quite good. So I've got things in there ready to blend. I've got the yogurt in there ready for in a minute, so we'll get on with that. Now, I don't know how your blender would feel about it. My blender wasn't a big fan of the quantity that was in there, so I added the yogurt to it as well and blended the whole lot together, which seemed to work much better. I don't know why you can't put the yogurt in with that as well. So that's what I did. I popped in my vanilla and my salt as well. I'm just now going to prepare the flour and the cocoa and the baking powder in the sieve. Baking powder and flour and cocoa powder are in. This is what my little ninja way of doing it, because my sieve doesn't fit over the edge of my bowl, so to be able to weigh it without it dipping in the bottom of the mixture, I just put a couple of skewers on there to hold it in place. Works brilliantly. So now I am going to sieve this all. And as I said, you can see the cocoa powder does clump up, and that's the main reason why I will sieve all this. And we'll probably end up having to push the last bits through with a spoon. So I'm just going to gently mix in the batter, folding around and trying not to knock out any air that was probably generated while we were in the blender. But we have got the baking powder and it is self-raising flour, so there should be plenty of opportunity to get it nice and airy. And then we're just going to pop it into a greased baking tin. So while the cake's in the oven, let's have a look through the rest of the book. So after we've done the recipes, which came from the main section there, I thought it'd be interesting to have a look at this section and this section. So you've got tips and techniques. What kind of shopper are you? Useful store-cooked ingredients, equipment you might need, how to set your budget, what's classed as healthy family food. Then there's a section here on storing, time-saving, meal planning, food waste. Conversion charts I think are useful as well. So I'll skip the forward. So it's telling you things like read a recipe before you start, get everything out. So make sure you've got everything missing. You can, and think about if you can substitute. That's my favourite thing, substituting ingredients for something else, because that always works well. And if you saw, I did substitute ingredients. How do you know when things are cooked? Clean up as you go along, definitely works really well. I like there's a glossary of terms. This is a really good basic. If you're a starter cook, I think this is giving you quite a decent background of different things that you can look at. So to understand what the cooking terms mean, because a lot of people wouldn't know. I mean, if you've never rubbed in something and it says rub in the butter and flour, I can imagine you'd be like, what the heck is that? Now, what kind of shopper are you? Now, I'm a bargain hunter, but none of my stuff ends up in the bin. I'm definitely not a throwaway shopper. I occasionally am an impulse buyer if I see a bargain. Convenient shopper, not really. Stuck in a rut shopper. Do we buy a lot of the same things? Yeah, because we buy the things that are the cheapest. So we do end up buying a lot of the same things, but I do try and come up with different ideas. So then we've got tips for the kind of shopper that you are. Useful store-covered ingredients. It's the basics, really. I would not agree with light coconut milk personally. I use full fat coconut milk, as high a fat as possible, and then I add water to it. So if I'm going to be paying £1.20 for a can of coconut milk and £1.20 for a light coconut milk, and the only difference is they've added more water to it, I'm going to buy the normal coconut milk and then I'm going to add water to it myself. And then what you can do is, if you're only using half the jar and then use half a can of water, freeze the other half. I will definitely say that. It talks about some of the family people that they had. Love your freezer. You know I love my freezer. Bread is in my freezer at all times. Plus we batch cook loads. If you're interested in some batch cooking, I'll put a link at the end of the video to some batch cooking videos that I have done. Right, so that's that main section. Again, it talks about equipment and things that you might need and a wish list of things you might need. I'd agree with most of these things. Okay, yeah, a wok, not essential, but if you've got a big frying pan, you can get away with it. The good thing about a wok is it's so big, you can put so much in it. Because I find that sometimes my frying pan does get slightly filled with vegetables when I am doing it. Then how to set your budget, think about what you would do, how to, go meat free. You know, it's vegetarian recipes are great, but there are not enough in this book. You know, it's a lot cheaper to be meat free. Try to think about your 5 a day, filling up on your 5 a day, although they'd recommend now, but it should be nearly up to 10 a day. And then you've got the recommendation of 30 vegetable products a day in your food. Or is it over a week? Might be over a week. But basically just amping up as much as you can in the fruits and veg. Shopping seasonally is a great idea too. Eating the rainbow, love that idea. It just makes food seem more interesting. Then we've got this whole section on different recipes. There is one recipe here, where is it, that I wanted to do, which is microwave tomato risotto. But the one thing I do not have is a bowl big enough and suitable for the microwave. I don't have Pyrex dishes. I'm going to have to keep an eye out in the charity shop for a Pyrex dish. So I'm going to save this recipe. I'll take a photograph of it for myself and I will put it in maybe a microwave video. What do you think? Are you interested in a microwave set of recipes that we can do in there? Because I've never thought about doing risotto in the microwave. So that'll be quite interesting to see. And then we have at the back the last little bit of how to store food, where's the best places to store food, where to store your fridge, in which part of your fridge. Nice sensible diagram there to show you where you store things, which is helpful. Where to put things in your freezer, how long to keep them. Time saving, buy bags of frozen veg, no chopping involved, you can just cook them from frozen. Buy tinned beans and pulse instead of dried. Yes, it cuts the time. However, it's not as cheap. You've got to balance the planning and time against how much you're willing to spend. Again, meal planning. Shop for what you already have. That's always important. Have a freezer night penciled in. We often do that with our meal prepped stuff. It gives you some sample meal plans and a shopping list, which is useful. Think about your food waste. And for me, one of the best parts of the book is a conversion chart. I think is so, so useful. So there we go. That is the book. So the cake has come out really well. I've left it to cool a little bit before releasing it. They do say after a bit, when it's fully cool, it might sink slightly, but we shall see. It looks really good, but we need our official taste tester to give their opinion. Chris! Yeah. Okay, taste tester Chris is here because, if it's cake, he is the one who has to try it. So there you go. This is a beetroot eggless chocolate cake. And as usual, he takes the biggest mouthful ever, so now we have to wait 5 minutes for him to finish chewing it.
It's like sweet and savoury at the same time. It's weird and it's nice.
Okay.
It's not like normal cake.
No.
But it's weird. I like it.
Okay, that's good. Right, he's going to go and take the rest of that and be happy. So there we go. That's the end of the 4 recipes that we have tried. I hope you found this book interesting. Would I buy it? That is the question. Is it a buy, borrow or bin situation? I would definitely say it's worth a borrow from the library. I wouldn't necessarily buy it for me personally. I don't think there's enough recipes in there for me as a vegetarian. However, if you're a meat eater, possibly, because I did have a look at the other recipes and there were some interesting ones there. I would say that the beginning and end of the book are useful for those people who maybe are starting out on their frugal journey and want to be a little bit more conscious about what they're spending, how they're spending. It would have been nice if it had given some prices in there as well. I mean, I found most of the ingredients quite basic and simple ingredients. Nothing too over the top or out there in terms of things that you needed to buy. Let me know in the comments what you thought. Like I say, I will put a link to my batch cooking over here and some use it up recipes over there. And also, if you have any good books that you would recommend me maybe ask my library for, that I should have a look at that are good budget cookbooks. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.